Hi, I'm Isabella Burns, and I'll be focusing on the privilege aspect of the discussion, meritocracy, privilege, and cultural capital. So in our class discussions, we have discussed privilege in a variety of ways. Privilege varies according to characteristics like race, social class, gender, family dynamics, and in your reading of Kahn, the concept of privilege was strictly about St. Paul's boarding school. So for our discussion, we did additional readings on case studies, and I will be going over the idea of privilege in the upper class environment of St. Paul's. I'll be comparing Black middle class and white middle class privileges, and I'll also be going over the missing privileges of the working class. So for St. Paul's boarding school, one of Kahn's focuses about privilege was how the students themselves, like how they saw themselves. He talks about how from the outside there's perception that the rich succeed because of who they are, but he found that the students found that they had earned their status and that they had earned their success. He claims that the value of St. Paul's, he claims that the value of St. Paul's is to be there, and that he talks about how many students have left their home which for some meant moving states or through cities to go to St. Paul's. He talks about how it's a privilege to be there. His main idea of St. Paul's is that it is about your education, but it's not necessarily about your education. It's about navigating through social hierarchies. He sees it as he says it as a way for them to find and establish their place in not only their school, but in their socioeconomic status. So he sees it more as a social aspect than an education aspect, which the privilege that we can find in this is that it's really reproducing, the privilege that they already have. Most of the kids that went there already have this privilege. They're just now reproducing it, so when they go onto college or whatever is next, they still have this status. For the Black middle class, there was this case study that we read. I'm sure that they will also talk about it in their discussions. The Marshall family. Black middle class, according to this case study, of course, kind of follows the standards of the white middle class in the sense that parents are heavily involved in their kids' activities and education. They are not afraid. They feel like it's their right and responsibility to get involved with school administration over what they feel is best for their education. And this case study concerning the Marshall family, Mrs. Marshall, she expressed how she, of course, feels that she is obligated and she finds it necessary to involve herself with her kids' education. However, she struggled immensely with dealing with racial issues. There was a situation where she has two daughters, where her daughters were complaining about how this bus driver was being racist. He was making them sit, and other Black kids sit at the back of the bus. He was only yelling at the Black kids, and this is what the kids were telling their mother. And their mother talked about how she felt very insecure and unsure on how to deal with the situation. She didn't feel as comfortable going to school administration, and then when she did, they kind of gave her an answer of like, I don't know how to help you. And that is a privilege that white middle class families don't have to deal with. They're like Mrs. Marshall, they're very involved with their students' education, they're very involved in their after school activities, but they never have to worry about the racial aspect of it and how to deal with those issues. For the working class, I kind of realized that there is this privilege that middle class and upper class families have that I don't even think they truly know about. One of the things that I found is that parenting style of school, like the parenting of schooling, is very different in the working class, because the working class families are less likely to get involved with their students' education. And by when I mean they get involved, they're less likely to enter a school and talk to administration or put themselves forward to administration. And one of the reasons for this is because they don't understand the jargon of schooling, or they feel like they don't know enough information to put themselves in these positions. They're more likely to allow school administration or teachers to tell them what they think their child needs, and these parents are more likely to just agree. This is a privilege that most middle class and upper class families might not know that they have. Middle class and upper class families are more likely to assert themselves and tell the administration and teachers what the parents feel like their children needs. And a lot of the times it ends up in their favor. However, for the working class, they're more likely to allow school administration to tell them what their child needs. So as a conclusion, I've kind of summed it up as the idea of privilege, because it's such a wide topic, so it's hard to pick one direction to go into, but the main ideas that I have got from both Khan and from the additional readings that I have done is that there's privilege in your socioeconomic status. If you're an upper class family, you will most likely stay in upper class family status. Your kids will most likely stay in that status. You will most likely go to better schools, or you'll go to private schools where it'll be mostly more about social class reproduction, which in the sense it is for also public schools and for the lower classes, but the purpose of schooling for upper class is mostly about maintaining that. For middle class families have the privilege mostly of having heavy parental involvement. They're very most likely to get involved. They want their kids to get the education that they believe that they deserve. However, if you are white, that is for sure yes. However, but if you are Black or Latino or you're Asian, you have other issues to deal with concerning race. And then I also say that there is the privilege of your parents' education, because as you see from the working class, most of the time these parents aren't educated, so they say they don't understand the jargon, or they don't understand the technicalities of schooling, so they allow school administration to make these decisions for them.